What's going on, everybody? LP here, back again with a new video. Today I have my dinosaur deck profile for you guys, as well as my thoughts on dinosaurs in the 2025 metagame post-Justice Hunters. These are going to be the timestamps, so just click to whenever you want to watch. So starting off with our dinosaur engine, we're playing triple fossil dig, triple OV, and triple baby. This is your standard dinosaur engine. I am playing more of a combo-centric organic build where you just kind of see what your hands are and go from there, because there's a lot of different combo lines this deck can take. And you'll see what I mean in a minute with the different engines we're playing. The one Giant Rex, the one Miss, and the Arco and the Pill, and of course our two UCT. This is the core of the original dinosaur deck in pure dinos. There's arguments to play Kaito over the Giant Rex, but we don't need the poly or the fusion in this build as much as other builds do. It's nice to have an extender. You can go to Guardian Chimera, but when you play the Jurek package, you get locked into dinosaurs and you can't Guardian Chimera, and you're only making Hornsaurus, but then you can't even make Lars because it's a dragon. So I'd rather just streamline the build and just play a card that I can recur easily with Banish Off Miss, Banish Off Pill, Banish Off UCT, stuff like that. So that's why I like Giant Rex. And plus the attack gain matters. There's a lot of big monsters in this format, especially the rank up canine guy. He's 33. Sometimes just having a big Giant Rex to get over that is pretty nice. So that's for the main dinosaur core. Now we're going to get into the rest of it. I am still playing the Xeno package, so that's triple ground Xeno, one Xenometeorus and one Frostosaurus. You could arguably play the Megalo Smasher as your alternative vanilla. However, I prefer the rank 6. I prefer the level 6 to go into the rank 6 Lars, or you can go into the rank 6 Transcendosaurus XZ. I forget what it's called. Dronathingus? Something like that. I don't know. We'll get to it. But I still like this engine. Ground Xeno plus Baby is full combo. Sometimes you can go low to the ground, and you can just make rank 6, rank 4. Sometimes you can pop off and make some really cool boards. It's about managing the restriction with Xeno, because he locks you into dragons, dinosaurs, sea serpents, and worms. So if you want to go for like an SP play, or you want to make Colossals, then you have to go into some alternative routes first, and then you go into your Xeno play. So you just have to manage your locks. Speaking of locks, we're going to our Jurek package. I'm playing a smaller Jurek package. It's one Volcano, one Stego, two Alo, and three Megalo. So a while back I did a video analyzing the Jurek cards, the new cards that came out of Battles of Legend when they debuted. And I thought Megalo was insane. I still think Megalo is insane. Megalo is one of the best cards that you can play. It's really nice because it's a dinosaur tuner that you can search off Ground Xeno in case you draw the Xenometeorus. So I just like that for its aspect. But having a dinosaur extender, so I can go, OV search a Megalo, special Megalo, and I have two monsters on the board. And if I played Fiendsmith cards, I can go to full Fiendsmith combo, anything like that. But it's just an extender, and it's nice to have. The Alo is necessary for the combo, and we play the one Stego because it's so searchable now. So with the Jurek cards, there's two ways to play that I think people enjoy, right? You can either max out on your Volcanoes and you max out on your Stegos. So you play three of this, and so this plus any dinosaur gets you into this, gets you in the full combo. And you just play three of this, plus three Fossil Dig. That's 6 ways to get the full combo, one card. But at the end of the day, the full combo for a Jurek board is what? 3 board wipes? No real interaction, right? A lot of decks can play through that, is what I'm realizing, especially post-Justice Hunters. Because the K9 stuff setting up with Gripper is pretty nice. Yummy's just so layered. Yummy is a fair deck, but it's just so layered. And so they're able to just recover and bounce back. I know if you have, Draco Tail. Draco Tail is just ignorant. I'm not going to lie. Draco Tail is pretty ignorant playing against that deck. Being able to fusion summon turn 0, just being able to search inherent negates. Like they have that one trap that negates spells. That card just kind of comes out of nowhere because it negates spells, shuffles back, and then draws a card. That card does so much. But so dinosaurs have a hard time playing into boards, harder time playing into boards. Like they've always had a good chance playing into them because there's so many engines at play that you're allowed to utilize. But playing into these Justice Hunter boards specifically, there's so much more layered interactions that have to happen that you really need to make sure all your cards go through. And if you open Stego and like 4 hand traps, you're doing like a pure Jurek build, and this gets negated, you're kind of screwed. So that's why I like to cut down on this engine, and we're just playing more of a pure build. And this is like a backup. So if I go into Xeno combo or Protos combo, and I get interrupted and I have a baby left over, I could pop it and then summon this guy and just go off from there. So that's why I like that Jurek engine. It's more of an engine. It's not the main combo of the deck. And then, of course, the last big engine is the Protoss engine. There's an argument you can play the Thunder Guy Corridor. You could play Corridor, and you could play Colossus, but with the presence of Mulch Armies in the format, Colossus doesn't do anything versus Mulch Armies, so it's just not worth playing it to me. I'd rather just commit the space to make a Protoss and just kind of prevent my opponent from playing that way. And this card is coming off the ban list is the reason this card is broken. So now we will wait to search into just about any deck that can make a ring 4, which is nice. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 non-engine spaces, right? And so these were the non-engine spaces I'm rocking with. I think Ash and Imperm are mandatory. These cards are just, played into everything in the format. This is your best go second card and go first card. This is your, same thing, best go second card, best go first card, because this interacts with Mulch Armies. Nib is still necessary in the format. I think it's just too good. And it's another thing, it's a cross out target because we lose the Nib pretty easily, especially if you're just open like a Jurak. You're gonna lose the Nib pretty easily, so having the cross out's really nice. And then these just help you play into boards more. I was testing out just cutting these cards out and just putting in more hand traps, because you could play something like, you could play your Bystials, you could play Veilers, you could play Drolls. You could argue to play like a Thrust to help you get into your Ground Xeno, or get into a Tactics to help you draw some more cards. There's different cards you can play. There's different arguments for each card, but it's just whatever the format depends on. But with these 3 cards specifically, Dinosaurs are having a harder time playing into the later interactions. So that's why I enjoy having these 3 cards in the main deck. I didn't mind losing the hand trap spaces to be able so I can play. I'd rather my opponent play and then me play through it than me prevent my opponent from playing and then being able to play my board and then my opponent still having resources to continue to play, right? I'd rather them expend their resources, then I can kind of pick apart their board and then they're out of resources and win the game that way. So that's why I enjoy it. But this is the most amount of non-engine space I could find for a 40 card deck while trimming all the fat, trimming a Kydoterra plus a Poly, trimming 1 copy of Pill, trimming the Petites, trimming down Stego, trimming down the Field Spell. Because the Field Spell for the Jurak cards, where is it? This is essentially our new copy of Diagram, but it's not as good as Diagram, and we don't get to go into VFD anymore. We get to go into Estero, so that's why having it at 1, it's searchable, it's fine. I miss Diagram in the fact that we could just make VFD, but VFD's banned, so the best thing we have now is just, board wipes, which is fine. But I'd rather be able to go in the different combo lines depending on what our hand is, depending on what everyone's board is. And so I prefer having, just instead of all in on one engine, having different engines to be able to play through that. And Dinosaurs have so many cards now, we're allowed to do that. So that's it for the main. This was the most recent side I played at Locals because we're under a board breaker format. So I was playing the 2 Lightning Storm and then 1 apiece of the Raigeki and the Harpy's Feather Duster. Essentially, you're just seeing 3 copies of whichever one you need more. You play this against Yummy, you play this against back row decks. There's some people still playing back row heavy decks at our Locals. So I like Evenly. Evenly's kind of been really nice this format. So the issue with Evenly though is because Orcus is still played a lot. Orcus Azamina or Orcus Fiendsmith because that's just 1 Nats. Malice is still technically played a little bit in Locals. People are still playing that. So Lancia is still a big card against that. And Lancia shuts off your Evenly. It's just having to manage your resources correctly. I am pilled on Dark Ruler. I'm a big Dark Ruler fan. I've always been a big Dark Ruler fan. There's an argument to play like Droplets. There's an argument to play a card like Book of Eclipse, because these are able to just book everything and does the same thing essentially. I just like Dark Ruler being able to slam it down, interact with the entire board, and just say no. But of course, with the Draco Tails, they have that searchable trap that negates the spell cards. So that's the only issue with this, and so that's why this card probably will come out of the side deck. I just have to figure out a different board breaker to put in. I have my 2 Lancias. These are cross-out targets because Dinosaurs lose to Lancia. Not as hard still, but we still do get hit by the Lancias, especially if we have our Mist, we have our Pill, we have our UCT, stuff like that. So I still like it. And plus, people are still playing Orcus out here. People are still playing Malice out here. So you got to have that. And then the last card is for going first card is our D-Barrier. I still like this card. This card's pretty nice against Blue Eyes because you just call Synchro. You have to worry though if you're setting up with a D-Barrier play and you're facing like Blue Eyes and you call Synchro, you can't go into your Jurak stuff. Or if you're facing against K9s or Ryzeal and you call XZs, you don't want to go into your XZ stuff because there's so many different types that you can play. You want to make sure that you're not preventing yourself from playing with the side deck. So That's just, of course, just make sure you're layering and interacting correctly. This is the extra deck I'm working with right now. It's still a work in progress. I'm trying to figure out spaces because it is pretty tight, just solely because the Jurac stuff takes up so much engine. So we have 3 Astero, 3 Meteor, and 1 Velfido. This is your Jurac stuff. A lot of the extra deck is just pilled on, you go Stego full combo, and it locks you in the dinosaurs. So we're playing some interesting cards in the extra deck that are dinosaurs that we have to play because there's no other like good dinosaur type XZs or link monsters that we could play. So we'll get into those. But this is your summoning gate. This is your board wipe. This is your climber. This card never comes up. Even if you want to make this just for fun, it doesn't come up ever. It's just never big enough. This card, I like on field, it's okay, but it's way better in the graveyard. So like there's an argument to completely cut Stego and Alo, and you just have 3 Megalo that you can search and you can pop off Ground Xeno, you can pop off Baby, because I could just pop it and send this to graveyard and just have this ready to go. So I don't know. I summoning it to search the field spell or search the trap card that I'm not playing, but you can play the Jurac Impact. Up to you, but that's just how I view the deck right now. You're able to make it, but I'd rather just see it engrave. And there is an argument to cut one of each because we're not playing that big of an engine. Just play 2 and 2. But there are times where you can go into all 3 pretty easily. So it just takes up so much space in the extra deck. Speaking of the weird ones, here are the weird XZs, the Drill Nathingus and the Gig Cannon. This is more of a time card. This can burn your opponent, which is relevant. And then our Drill Nathingus can recycle our banished monsters. And it's just a big beater. It's 3k. And it inflicts double damage when it has no material. So it does something, which is nice. So like if you ever go Stego combo and then you're find your way into a Xenometeorus, you can pop it and go into this instead of going into a Lars. But it's just something that can come up, and you can recycle your Miss. You can recycle your Juracs that you banish off your Astero. So it does something. It's okay. And then for your good ones, you have your Lars, your Dolka, and your Lagia. You go into these pretty much as often as you can when you're not locked out of them. So that's why these cards are insane. This is your Omni. This is your Omni. This is the not once per chain monster negate, which is really nice. So, and then we play the Banshee to search our Protos. And the last 2 are the links. We're not playing Reproducus. There's an argument to play Reproducus because it's just our like 2 generic dinosaur monster that we can go into. These cards just come up way more often. Because all the Jurac little ones are level 1s, and your Archosaur is level 1. Going into Anima to be our 9 dinosaur for our pill target is super important because they got rid of our Linkaribo, so now we need this. This card also comes up too because sometimes your opponents just don't play around this card and you could just steal something, which is really funny. But a lot of times I'm just going into this and then immediately going into our SP. This card alone just kind of interacts with all the different layers that your opponent's board will set up. So I would never cut this card. You just need these 2 to continue to play dinosaurs, to be able to have the non-dino cards to go into and to be able to interact in ways when your other cards get stopped. So, but it sucks if you start with a Stego. That's why I don't want to play it at 3 in a stack, because if you start with it, you can't go into this, but I'd rather be able to try and build a board, and then once I get interrupted, end on this, or something like that. So there's different cards you can play. We're going to get into that more in depth later in the video, but I want to just give some ideas. As far as board breakers go, Dark Hole is still like a good card. If you're playing the baby package and you're playing actual baby Ceratosaurus and Petite Pteranodons, there's nothing wrong with normal summon baby Dark Hole. Like that's still like a good play in theory, because you can go normal summon baby Dark Hole, get Stego, full Stego combo, right? If your opponent doesn't interact with that, it feels pretty nice. There's still options to play Pank, because I believe Pank's either at 2 or it's at 3. I can't remember now. I gotta check the ban list. But having a searchable Pank is still nice in the deck. Pank still interacts with a lot of those cards because it can count for 2 cards along with your battle phase, or it can just the quick effect pop and be able to play into your opponent's back row is really nice because you can pop those Draco Tail back row, or you can pop the Yummy Field spell, which is really nice to make them all tiny. So these are cards you can consider playing. And we're in a format where playing turn 0 is prevalent with canines and with Draco Tails. So there's an argument to play the only turn 0 card in Dinosaurs, which is Transcendosaurus Meteorus. This card is weird. Essentially what it does is its summoning condition is during your opponent's turn quick effect, you can destroy 2 Dinosaur monsters in your hand or your field and special summon it. So that's your turn 0 interaction, is you special summon a big beater on your opponent's turn. But the destruction effect is important because if your hand is like this plus 2 babies, or this plus baby and Megalo. You can end up doing it a play where you pop the baby, you can have baby summon an OV and go into something, or if you're popping the Megalo, the Meteorus pops the Megalo, Megalo effects trigger, send the Astero, and then on your opponent's turn 0, you have access to a board wipe, right? Love this guy, but he's a brick. If this is your hand, right, and your opponent's going first, you can use this effect, summon itself, pop both of these, trigger your Megalo, dump your Astero, and now you have fuel for your Astero to banish itself, summon the big guy, and then board wipe. It's just a turn 0 play you could do. Is it good? It's something. But this card's interesting and something to play around with. So without further ado, let's hop into some more in-depth analysis of the format and different versions of the deck you could play. So here's the deck just laid out so you can see it all together. This is pure dinos right now. I like having the different engines to play with, having a Jurek engine, having a Ground Xeno engine, and having your dino cards to back you up, as well as a Nemesis engine to kind of pivot and play around your opponent's cards. Obviously, some upgrades to this deck you can make would be like your Molcharmies. Where's your Molchar? That's not how you spell Molcharmy. Molchar. There we go. You could play like your Fruos. You could play your Perulia. I think Meows is like okay this format. Draco Tail it's okay against. It's good against K9, especially turn 0. Like you can drop this on your turn if like game 2 or 3 if you know your opponent's playing K9. But so these cards are obviously upgrades you can make to this deck. I just don't own these cards right now. You can obviously play more hand traps. You can play stuff like Droll. I said you can play like Bystials. Bystials helpful because they're non-dinosaurs, which is this deck kind of needs. You can play the Veiler. You can play Crow is like arguably okay, because if they go K9, dump Lupus, you can just Crow the Lupus. It's fine, I guess. Same thing with Draco Tail. You can when they big fusion guy, I forgot his name. Draco Tail. When they are Thalion and they target their own stuff to recycle back, you can just Crow them out of there. So Crow's arguably like okay. But yeah, so this is where the deck's at right now. I want to show you an example of like with the Jurek stuff, right? Now that we've had time to digest this deck and see where it's been, here's what a pure version of that deck looks like. So if we're playing like pure Jurek, like the extra deck really doesn't matter. You just need your 3 Asteros and your 3 Meteors and your Velveto to go into things. So these rank 4s are like options, but the deck is really concise then. It becomes like a super small engine. You can play a ton of non-engine. You play your 3 Fossil Dig to search your Stego. And you like these are your 6 1-card starters in the deck. And you play your Terraforming and your Triple Volcano, because if you're in on Volcano, then you can just have this in any dinosaur monster. And you can pop off into your Stego and do combo. So this is like 1.5, 1.7. It's 2-card combo. This and a dinosaur, but you know, it gets you there. So essentially having that as your starters, you only need the Megalo, 3 Megalo, 2 Alo, 1 miss just to send off your Stego. OV is just there for an additional body and searcher to get you into your Meteora, so you can make a second Astero on your turn with the combo. Oh, I'm realizing I'm missing a card in this list. Because we're playing pure, we could play this card. So we can play the Impact to search. So you can cut, I don't know. Sure, we'll cut a Perulia. That card's just okay this format. So yeah, you can play something like this. Oh, I just organized it. Oh well. The Impact is it's a good card, right? After you, because you only really need to search the Volcano once, and then, or if you already have it off Terraforming, if you start the combo that way, having the Impact on field is nice, just as an additional threat to back up. So this deck, the benefits is you play a lot more non-engine cards. You can also play like board breakers in this deck, right? So if I want to play a card like Droplet, if I want to play a card like well, what's it called, Eclipse, that's not how you spell it. You want to play stuff like these are really good cards. It's helpful to note that if you Eclipse or Stego like on an Imperm, like if you go normal Stego effect and they go Imperm, you can go Eclipse protected. So it's like it works in both ways. You could play a card like this in this deck. Instead of the hand traps, you play non-engine in ways that play through boards. But the thing about the pure deck is like you can only Stego once, because then everything will go to grave, and then subsequently you'll get banished for these effects. And like if you draw another Stego, it's kind of a dead draw. after turn 1 or after the combo goes off. So like this deck doesn't really have a good way of getting into the grind game. So you're either like nuking the board a bunch of times and then hoping you have a UCT on the crackback, or you're just hoping your negates were enough and you're able to play through with your non-engine. So that's where I think this deck falls short. Because the best hand trap deck in the format right now is Blue Eyes. I still think Blue Eyes is the best non-engine deck because it's a deck is just like 9 to 12 1-card starters plus 4 hand trap 1-card starter, you're in there. So that's the best hand trap control deck. This deck is trying to do that, but it's not doing it effectively. So that's why I don't like the pure build. It's something to toy around with, but I just didn't. I played with it and I didn't really like it that much. That's just my thoughts on it. Because the biggest problem in this format, there we go. This is just problems. That's not how you spell problems. Problems. All right, so we have the Draco Tails. Draco Tail. There we go. So we have the Arthalion, which just bounces everything. This card's actually insane. And then you have to worry about your Malulu negating cards, your Phimina, and your where's the other one? These aren't cards. Yeah, it's just the Phimina being able to quick fusion summon. So these 2 cards are really imperative to deal with. As well as Flame. The Flame, this card does way too much. It just does way too much. The negating the spell, so you're able to negate their board breakers in a board breaker format is really good. So these are the problem cards we have to deal with. For the canine stuff, right? It's mostly just the Gripper. Oh, where's Gripper? There's Gripper. So having Gripper on their turn 0, being able to play through our hand traps, is another reason why the Jurek Pure version isn't that good, because it's a hand trap control deck. And Gripper's just preventing that. So that's what I think about the deck. Where is this? Yeah, this is the big one. So the Werewolf is the big one that you rank up into with the spell. So the spell pops and ranks up in 1 effect, which is really good for them. And the Werewolf is just a big guy. And being able to rip the card from there it is. Rip a card, look at your opponent's hand and banish from card from mid face up. That's crazy. This card does way too much. Being a big guy, you need to make sure that you have an adequate response, and the only really adequate response is UCT, and the Jurek cards just don't get out UCT as effectively as the pure version does. That's why I like it into that kind of board. So, and then the last cards are the Yummy cards. These are just fair cards. I really think this deck is it's not oppressive. I think it's a fun deck. I think it's very interactive. I think I enjoy playing against Yummy actually, because it's actually something that it requires thought, it requires interaction. It's a good back and forth, except when they land on this guy. Where is he? Herald. I cannot spell for my life. Arclight. If they go Arclight, it turns off half your deck because the babies need to be sent to grave, and so or the mist needs to be sent to grave, or popping the babies in hand or anything like that. This card does too much, right? So once they get the Arclight, it's a harder time, but again, board breakers are there for a reason. So that's why I enjoy the layered interactions of the Dino build with the Nemesis engine, because with the Nemesis engine I can recycle my banished cards from the Herald of Arclight. So that's why I enjoy that. Same thing with the surprisingly the rank 6, the Drill Nathingus, that recycles the banished as well. So anything that gets popped off Herald, I can just recycle that way. So so these are the problems in the format that we have to deal with right now, not to mention people still playing Blue Eyes cards, people still playing Ryzeal cards, people still playing Mitsu cards. And so that's just my thoughts on where Dino lands in the format. Obviously it's a rogue pick. It's not going to be your meta contender at all. But I just enjoy being able to pick through boards. And people are still playing, obviously people are still going to be able to play their Fiend. I cannot spell for my life. Wow. Fiendsmith cards are still going to play their Engraver. They're still playing the Desert, which is a crazy card on its own. And they're able to recycle with all of these cards, being able to get through their engines over and over again. It's another reason why the pure direct build doesn't work. Also, speaking of other builds of dinosaurs, I don't like the Ryugi build. I don't like playing more than 40 cards in general, but then playing just like a ton of bricks, right? All the Ryugi cards don't do anything. Like, if I'm being 100% honest, these are just big guys that aren't that big, right? They're all 3,000. That's not enough in this format. The pendulum guy is like, your 1-card starter, but you have to play so many bricks, so many continuous spells that just don't do anything. They don't advance an actual game plan. They just advance a combo to end on whatever. What's that? The rank 10 negate. Like, all of that just to get like an okay negate. Where are you? This guy. Where attacks into. It's a negate and a destroy. Like, this card's just okay. It's like you have to play so many bricks in your engine and to play like a 50 card deck minimum just to play this to make sure your cards go through. Not worth. 100% not worth. So that's why I don't like the Ryugi cards. So let's hop into some combos with the deck just to show you what it can do. All right, welcome to the combo portion of the video. We're just going to go through some bread and butter combos, and then we're going to test out some new ideas with the deck. So right now we're going to start Baby Ground Xeno. So we're going to go standby main. We're going to rip our Ground Xeno. We're going to add our big guy, and then we will pop our baby. And then in a new chain, we'll do Chain Link 1 Baby, do special from deck, and then we'll do Chain Link 2 Xenometeorus to special summon itself. Our zones don't matter a whole lot here, so that's just one thing to keep in mind. We're going to special summon our Overraptor, and our Overraptor will then activate, and we will grab our baby, and we will commit our normal summon here, and use our OV to destroy this baby, to special summon this baby, and then our baby engrave will trigger, and we will grab our Archosaur. And we're going to trigger Archosaur. We're going to we're going to add our pill. And then we can trigger this baby again. And we can grab our baby again. We won't have a way to activate the pill anymore until we link away into our anima, and that gets cleared, or we can go in SP right now and forfeit negate. But if we're playing like super low to the ground, what we can do is we can just link this away into our anima, and then we can use the effect of our Xenometeorus, pop this special, and then our baby will trigger for the last time, and we can special out that Giant Rex. And then we can just we're going to overlay everything into our Dolka and Lars respectively, because we are locked after we Xenometeorus. And so this is just a non-dino that'll eventually get into grave, and we'll have this for our follow-up on our next turn after our opponent has 4 negates to deal with. However, we can go back to where we were. This goes here, and so we had Xeno, this, and these were in our deck. So depending on how we want to play the rest of this turnout, I can link this away into my anima, then I'll link these two away into an SP. Right, so now I have pill fodder. But more importantly, I can activate my Meteorus. I will pop this to grab the vanilla, and then my baby will trigger, and I can grab wherever he is. Now we can grab the Stego, and then we'll overlay these two, because now I'm locked into dragons, dinosaurs, sea serpents, and worms, and I can go into my Lars. And then from here I have my SP, which I made before being locked. I have my Lars after the first lock, and then I can fully lock myself into dinosaurs with the Stego now. So we can do this, and we can proceed to do our combo this way. So we will grab, we're going to dump this first, and then we're going to special summon a lot of these guys. And then we can do the Alo dance, special summon, and we'll synchro these away into our bridge, and then we'll Alo dance again, get our Stego, and this will be our 10. So now we're here, and then we can activate the effect of this, and we can grab our volcano. We're going to set it and then activate it. So now, based on our graveyard, we can do a few things. We can we can either go for a larger play of banishing 4 dinosaurs to get a giant Rex on board, just to be sticky for later for follow-up. We can banish the mist for 1 to get the last Megalo out of deck. Or what we can do is we can banish for, I think we use out of that. So we can have a couple of things to go on, but we can also just do this. We can use the effect of a volcano to pop our Astero to get it into our graveyard, and we can just special summon our last Megalo. So now we have access to this, and then we have our Mist for follow-up on next turn. And then the reason we want to have our Megalo on board is because we can banish our Stego and our Oviraptor, and we are going to grab our UCT. And so by having this way, when we activate our UCT effect to pop stuff, to book their opponent's field, we're gonna popping our Megalo, and that'll trigger on our opponent's turn, right, to send another Astero to grave, which is nice just to have that extra Astero pop, utilizing just our ground Xeno and our baby. So we have our SP interrupt, we have our 2 negates with our Lars, and then our double board wipes and our Book of Eclipse with UCT. So that's just one of the combos we can do, and that's something that's interesting that we can play around with. Now I want to get into a different type of combo. I want to try and see what we can do turn 0. Alright, so say it's our opponent's turn and this is our opening hand and we have 2 blanks in our hand, right? What we can do is we can do this anytime during the draw phase or standby phase, so long as they have passing priority for quick effects. We're able to we're going to activate our Transcendosaurus Meteorus, so we can special summon itself by destroying 2 Dinosaur monsters in our hand. So I will destroy my Megalo and I'll destroy my baby. I'm going to special summon out my Meteorus, and I'm going to do Chainlink 1 is our baby, Chainlink 2 is our Megalo, and Chainlink 3 is our Meteorus. So how it's going to resolve is our Meteorus will then dump a dinosaur monster from our deck to our graveyard. So what we can do is we can dump our Miss, and then our Megalo will dump our Astero, and our baby can do a couple things. We can special summon out a Oviraptor, and then we can just trigger that and have follow-up for our next turn by adding another copy of itself to our hand, or we can add a copy of UCT, something like that. Or, these are not being engraved, we'll put these back to deck. Or we can special summon out a Floodgate. It's a brick, but it's something we can play. We can play our Beat Raptor, who is going to negate the effects of extra monsters in the extra monster zone. So if our opponent's playing Link monsters like Yummy, we can negate the Link one. We're playing against Malice, we're playing against the other decks that need the Link zone in order to play. This card kind of shuts them down. It's not the best right now in this current format, so I wouldn't recommend playing it, but it is an option. And essentially what this does is, because we send our Megalo, we have fodder for our Astero to banish it to get a board wipe available on our opponent's turn. And then something else we can do, right? So say we board wipe, we have our Miss on our turn for follow-up, or what we could have done is, instead of having the Meteorus send the Miss, because it's a Transcendosaurus card and they love the vanillas, we could send our Frostosaurus, right? So that would be in our graveyard. And then when our Meteor blows up the field, we can use our effect of our Meteorus to shuffle this back to our deck, and then we can special summon out our Transcendosaurus Meteor, starting our turn with a big beefy beater. And that's something else we can do. It's just less of a follow-up than having Miss in graveyard. So it's like whether we value having the Miss in graveyard as follow-up, whether or not we value or the big beater to get over our opponent's stuff. So that's an option that we can do, and that's something I kind of want to toy around with in the future. But yeah, so this is the turn 0 board wipe, I guess, that you could do for Dinosaur. So let me know if you guys, what you guys think down in the comments below. Am I cooking or am I cooked? Is this strategy just burnt because of Transcendosaurus Meteorus, or is this something viable in the 2025 format? You guys be the judges of that, and let me know down below. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and if you stayed this long, drop a comment down below saying Dino Best Deck, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.